Is there any time Suge got mad at you when you were young?
Hell yeah. Man, when I first went to death row, and you'll hear about this in my book, Stranded on Death Row. I first went there. I was, as I said, Shorty Capone, after he signed me, he went back to Chicago. He left me with my $25,000 signing bonus of the $100 and something thousand that he got paid.
Oh, take me through that. How'd that all unfold?
So yeah, so Suge was like, yeah, I want that nigga. You ain't gotta take him to no meeting. And like the meeting that I was on my way to, it was canceled. Because Suge made an offer like immediately, like $250,000. Like immediately, I'll give you $250, let me have him, da 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 da. So the talk went around for a little while, but it ended up being almost $170 something thousand signing, something like that. And we signed. They gave me $25,000, and that's a lot of money to give somebody that I grew up on the west side of Chicago on food stamps. You know what I mean? When they were in the paper book. So to give me a $25,000 check at that age was definitely something incredible. Before I got that check, Suge put me in the Peninsula Hotel after finding that Shorty had left me in LA after getting that bonus.
So how do you end up with, that was your manager at the time?
Shorty Capone, yeah, he was more like my manager, the CEO of the production company.
And how do you end up taking your money?
Well, I guess, I'm 15, 16 years old, so I really wasn't.
And that was supposed to be the guy that was supposed to be watching out for you.
That was the guy that was supposed to look out for me. You know what I mean? And there's some things that I've said in the past in interviews. I'm so glad that I'm maturing that, I don't think I've ever said this before. Shorty is the creep, or was the creep that he was because he knew no better. And I used to say some horrible things about him. And, at this point, I could say that I appreciate Shorty, what he did, giving me that opportunity to meet who I met. Suge Knight put me in that position. I don't like the way that I was played because I was a minor and I didn't know any better, but honestly, I don't think Shorty knew any better when it came to the business. And now that I'm an adult, I guess I could say that. I was left there. And the good part about when Suge found out that I was left there, my mother was ill at the time, so I had to have a guardian. And Suge was like, well, man, you around me. I might as well be your guardian. But before that happened, I'm staying in the Peninsula Hotel, and Jewel, one of the first lady of Death Row on the R&B side, she brought girls over to my hotel to the Peninsula every day, and they was getting these bottles, and I didn't know what the bottles was until I found out they was Cristal, and I didn't know they were so expensive. And she would come with at least 7 to 10 girls every day. And they was getting bottles of Cristal, they was getting their feet done in their room, they were getting pedicures, massages, buying clothes from the gift shop. And what got me in trouble was I took the limousine that they give you, a limousine with your room. You can just have them take you wherever. It was a Rolls Royce limousine. I took this limousine. Jewel hooked me up with somebody to give me a burnout cell phone. But I had to go to Compton to get it. So I am riding in a limousine, in a Rolls Royce limousine in Compton. And Suge's assistant, Roy, called the guy and said, hey, Suge want to meet with Danny Boy, how close are you to the office? And he said, well, sir, we're on Rosecrans and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And you could hear him say, oh no, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You have to be fucking kidding me. You're where? And he said it to him again. And I heard the phone click in and Suge on the phone. And he's like, hey, where the fuck y'all at? He asked him the driver, and the driver was like, well, sir, we're on da-da-da-da-da-da Rosecrans. And da-da-da. He said, you motherfucking idiot. Bring that motherfucker up to my office right now. And yeah, he was saying more than that and just cussing on the phone. And I'm like, oh shit. So when the guy hung up the phone, I was like, hey, look, I'm 16 years old. I don't really know what's gonna go on, but you need to take me to the airport. I went to the airport and flew home. Immediately, like
first
flight smoking. I think it was a United Airline. I can remember getting on the plane, like I'm out of here. And it took me a couple of months to come back to LA. And when I got back, he made me wait around as usual, like everybody else waited around for him. He say 7 o'clock, he'll be there at 1 o'clock a.m. I waited around, he came and he said, hey, I look like I fell off the back of a fucking banana truck. I'm like, I really didn't know if that was a gang term or something. And I was like, no. And he was like, I'll fuck you up. I don't give a fuck that you no kid. I'll fuck you up. And I'm just kind of like looking at him, and I looked over at Shorty Capone, and I looked at him again. And he was like, I fuck with you, but don't be on that Hollywood shit. And I think that was the only time that I had a run-in with him. But after him becoming my guardian, you know, it was kind of hard to have a run-in with him because I would say things to him that nobody else could or nobody else would. I would take those chances.
So he was mad about the money you spent.
Yeah, he was real, man. I'm like almost $90-something thousand dollars.
Oh, that much?
Yeah, within 2 months. 92 months, 3 weeks or 2 months, something like that. But I spent like $90-something thousand. Charged it all to the room. I didn't know the Cristal was costing, you know, $200-300 a bottle. And we was drinking it every day for like 6-7 days straight. Pedicures and manicures. I didn't know you could charge all of it. I'm just signing the paper. I didn't know that it was connected to money though.
You had mentioned, I think, when you were staying there that you ran into Biggie.
Yeah, man. I ran into Biggie staying in the Montrose. This after I stayed in the Mondrian Hotel for a while, and I kind of got tired. I wanted to move, and I moved to the Montrose Hotel. And I just got back from the studio and getting me some weed. And this big dude coming, he walking down the hallway with some dirty ass socks on, headphones on, and he writing. And he's writing. And you can actually hear him, you know, it was a song, I see some ladies tonight, this should be having my baby. You know, you hear him just kind of like saying the verses, and he smelled the weed on me. He was like, hey, you got some smoke? I was like, yeah. He's like, shit, you know, da-da-da-da-da-da. We end up on the rooftop of the hotel, and I probably had about a half an ounce, maybe. And he smoked almost all of it, if not all of it. But the next day we met up again, we smoked again. So that was incredible, and that was much before the whole East Coast.
Was that before his first album, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, was he out there by himself, or?
He was in the hotel by himself, but it was always the Montrose Hotel is a hotel that all the artists come to, especially artists that's kind of breaking in the industry. This is where the record companies would place them.